Why don't we do this, Drew? I have a question actually for you guys regarding the story, and I think it might be a good way to wrap it up and move on to some of the other topics. What is the general consensus and the kind of closing statement with not only just the story, but this idea of playing two different characters?
Every time the perspective shifted, there was a little bit of a loss of momentum because I felt that the game kind of got to a really climatic moment each time before that shift occurred. But, once you got into it and you kind of, understood the character and their separate skill set, I was totally on board because it just meant to me that the game was going to be, a really long, meaty experience. And I was totally on board with that. So I like the fact that we got to, experience these different perspectives and that they went on for like so ridiculously long as they did. So for me, I enjoyed it.
I have a different take on that. I agree with you on the loss of momentum. But I think for me, like I felt, if you didn't notice, like through my recalling of the story, like, I definitely felt for Abby and what she went through. And, I struggled at points with Ellie, trying to, force her to stop attacking Abby or stop hunting this vengeance, just following this vengeance path that she was on. And obviously you can't, you're essentially on rails with this game. The thing is like when I bought this game, I was under the pretense that this is a story about Ellie. And I felt like for the most part, it was really a story about Abby. Now, Ellie does have a story and it's very profound and it bookends the entire game. You are following her path at the beginning and at the end, but the middle is so much about Abby and her story. And I wasn't expecting that. It really caught me off guard because in everything that I had read about the game, which admittedly was very little, there was no mention of Abby. And like I intentionally did that. I didn't want to know about the game, but I guess I wasn't prepared for that either. Like I expected to just be more fun times with Abby or with Ellie and Joel, like I was looking forward to that experience. And
there's no fun times in this game.
There was no fun times in this game. And I was very resistant to playing as Abby almost the entire time. Every time I was forced to play as her, I just like, all right, well, I'm done with this bitch. Let me get back to Ellie. I care about Ellie. I don't care about Abby. I care about Ellie. I want to see what happens with her. I want her to get her revenge. It wasn't until I think the very end of the game where I truly started to sympathize with Abby when Ellie was fighting her when she was broken, So I don't know. Like, I feel like there's a better way to handle this, for my taste, because the game felt like it was excessively long at points. And although I enjoyed it and like I don't regret playing through it, I felt like it was going to end multiple times.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, I don't want to dive into that too much because I know there were kind of questions on the topic from the mailbag. But, I want to kind of flesh that out a little bit more detail when we get there.
There's one plot point that we didn't really touch on where you're playing as Ellie, and this is before the game is shifted to Abby's perspective, where Ellie kind of invades this aquarium where Abby and her friends had been for a while. And she encounters Owen and Owen's pregnant girlfriend. And Ellie is trying to get them to tell her where Abby is. And of course, it totally goes to shit. And in the process, Ellie ends up killing both of them, only to realize after the fact that one of them was actually pregnant.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And when she did, like, I think she reacted appropriately. I think, Tommy came to her aid at that point, and, Ellie was violently ill at what she had done.
Yeah.
So that was a rough moment for sure.
And I'll tell you, when I was playing as Abby, you repeatedly returned to that aquarium. And every time she returned, I was like getting anxious. I'm like, is this the time she's going to find her dead friends?
Right.
And Each time, no, the game continued.
That's one thing that bothered me. Like, I really felt like they could have kind of like put things a little bit on fast forward. Like, where this is going. Let's just get there. And I felt like some of this shit was drawn out unnecessarily.
But it does. Now, as I'm thinking about it, it does, like, I do remember one part where Owen's girlfriend is her name Mel?
Yes, Mel.
Okay. There's a part where Mel is at the aquarium during Abby's section, and she's talking to Abby. And she basically flat out tells Abby that she's a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, well, not the end, but at the point where Abby has beaten Ellie and she has the knife to Dina's throat and she's about to kill Dina. And I think Ellie tells her, like, don't do it. Dina's pregnant. And Abby's like, good. And she's about to murder her.
Right.
And that's when Lev, interrupts and stops her. And I think that was the moment where she changed and chose not to be a horrible person.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, man, this game is fucking deep.
It is. I mean, we can go on, about all these little moments for another 2 hours.
It's a lot to absorb. I'm learning quite a bit just from hearing you guys kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in this story that, to unpack, all these moments where, not even just Ellie and Abby, but like even Tommy, a character like Manny, who, ends up like, he's like basically Abby's roommate and best friend. And, the two of them are essentially hunting partners, when they're out trying to, defend their home turf, right?
And he's a genuinely likable dude in that game.
Super likable, right? He's a side character, super likable. You really dig him. And then there's a section where Abby is I don't remember where she's coming from, but she encounters him and he's trying to defend himself from a sniper who's taken out the rest of the group that he's with. And there's this whole section where they're running, through these cars trying to get to this sniper, and they make it all the way up to the top of the bridge. They get all the way up there, and then the sniper shoots him right in the head, and you see him die right in front of you. Guess who the sniper is? It's Tommy.
Oh, jeez.
So now Abby has a reason to kill Tommy. And it's like this cycle of revenge, these two, it's, these stories are so intertwined. It's yeah.
And I'm going to go on a quick deviation about Tommy, which I know I've spoken to you about this, Drew. But in the beginning of the game, when Joel has been killed and his brother Tommy decides that he's going to go and track down Abby and kill her, his main concern, though, is making sure that Ellie doesn't follow him. He doesn't want her involved. He wants to keep her protected. He even makes arrangements to have her like locked up in Jackson so that she can't come along.
Right.
But after he fails to kill Abby and he's been maimed by her and he can no longer walk properly. I think he even loses an eye, possibly. And of course,
yeah.
And you find out that not only that, but his wife has left him. And, he really, he's lost pretty much everything he had left after Joel died. And then at that point in the game, he actually totally does a 180 and wants Ellie to go get that revenge because he can no longer do it. It's almost as if, that is the only thing he has left to live for. And it causes, it basically erodes him as a character and just makes him what he was not.
Right. Yeah, he's like just kind of regressed into, just that's all he's got is just seeking revenge for his long lost brother and everything else that he's lost.
Yeah. Vengeance sucks, folks. Don't go for vengeance.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Just sit down, have a conversation,
Work it out.
Work it out. Yeah.
work it out.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry we went on a 20-minute tangent there, Will.
No, it's all right. I mean, I'm learning, like I said, how profoundly heavy this game really is. I mean, I thought that the first 3 hours were, but this is that was just a warm up